So how did you manage to get involved in designing, creating, building a pavilion for the London Olympics?
That was the question. The challenge they had, it wasn't just solving design problem. The question was, who's the client? Who's going to build it? Where are you going to build it? I couldn't answer those questions, especially, that time was 2010 when I finished my part two. It was in the middle of the pandemic, the recession. It was tough, wasn't it? Very difficult. But I thought, I just believed, I think this is what I really want to do. This is my passion. I don't want to be part of the problems. When I finished my university, design this naughty boxes around cities. I want to do better than that.
So how did you go from that part then? 2010, in that economic state, I remember that very well. How did you then get to the point of getting someone to agree for you to design, build a pavilion for the London 2012 Olympics?
That was, I had a full-time job, obviously, and in the practice in London, and I started writing pitch letters to large organizations, and it was very stressful actually, very, very hard. Literally finished work, you work in architectural practice, you work very late. Got home, had some food, beat myself up, some Red Bull, black coffee, and then kept working. Sometimes it's like I was so focused, and my wife woke up in the morning and goes, "What are you doing?" So, what do you mean? It's 6:30 in the morning. I just realized I didn't sleep that night. It's just that level of focus. I need to make this happen. This is the vision. It has to be delivered. And my wife was so worried because what if you fail?
Well, definitely. What if you fail? Definitely about your health as well. I'm thinking having
just uncertainty. I want you to take the challenge. There's a sense of urgency. There's a desire to make a difference. I want to design architecture, not just a building. But the challenge is always boils down to cost. How much does a building cost? Nobody could answer it. Architects definitely couldn't because of the training. The professional training has got nothing to do with costing or building construction, etc. So that's I believed. This has to be done. Somebody has to do it. It's not going to be easy. So I just, I started pitching this letter after thousands of rejection and failure. Luckily, I managed to convince a range of organizations like Hewlett-Packard, who sponsors 3D printing, Bentley Systems Software, Rumble Engineer, they sponsor the engineering services, and Cabinet is an Eco Timber company, sponsor the timber, etc. And I had to speak to steel fabricators. A friend of mine, he's a very famous sculptor. He uses steel fabricator in Nottingham. They give me a massive discount. I had some saving. And there's a Tensile Fabrics as well, sponsored by Sergio Ferrari and manufactured in Bristol called Tensile Fabric. So I became the principal contractor. Somebody has to build it. I didn't have a choice. There was no client. There was no principal contractor. There was no project manager. I was everyone except the engineering services, which I couldn't do.
So you decided to set the organization up to be that principal contractor?
As a client, many hats. The lead design architects, the principal contractor, the client, the project manager, the end user, everything. See, it was quite challenging because at that time it was, what I did was, the paperless construction, design engineering construction, and everything we did like timber frame, we generated the manufacturing code, that drives the robotic arm to cut the timber pieces, and the steel frame, we did the detailed 3D modeling. I had to coordinate with the steel fabricator down to the steel plates. How many was the chamfer angle for welding? So when I just issued a solid 3D model to the steel fabricator, and in terms of assembly, or the construction, if you call it, and we just had volunteers, a student from the first. It was a very complex double curvature structure, and we had no experience, can't build this. Just a bunch of sweaty students, including myself, and we just put these all pieces together. The pavilion, each one consists of 997 unique pieces. If you put in the wrong components in the wrong place, or the right component in the wrong orientation, the next one just won't fit. And the accuracy was plus minus 0.05 millimeter. It had to be. We needed this accuracy because if each one, imagine 1 millimeter bigger, so 0.5 millimeter on each side, 1,000 pieces later is a meter off, so you can never build this. So this is kind of very challenging. And then I did discover this as a business model really. When I spoke to before I built it, I spoke to the QSs, GNT, and they said, "How much do you think this pavilion going to cost me?" He looked at it, 1 million. I said, "What? Where's that 1 million come from?" So he looked at me, "Have you built anything in your life?" I said, "No." "Well, that's your biggest challenge. Make it happen. Money is not a problem. Money is not the most worrying thing you should have, is to build it." So that was, what I've done is when I did this project leveraging the technology, automation, robotics, and did all the heavy lifting, it didn't require a skilled worker. It only costed £146,000 instead of 1 million.
Which is a snip, isn't it, on that £1 million?